Bryce Harper, a two-time MVP loved and hated by many, has no doubt left his mark on baseball. But before his MLB stardom, Bryce was the most hyped high school prospect we'd ever seen, and that was for a very good reason. Today, I'm going to explain why we will never see another prospect like Bryce Harper. Hey guys, Brett here at Baseball Prospect Analysis, and I hope y'all are doing well. Today we're going to break down Bryce Harper and relive his unique road to the MLB. But first, if you enjoy short documentary-style baseball content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and tune in for weekly videos. With that said, let's get right back to the story. As a 90s baby growing up throughout the 2000s, I had limited technology compared to today's youth. Sure, I had the GameCube and mobile games like the Game Boy, but in terms of multimedia devices, we were quite limited. The iPod Touch didn't come out until 2007, and it was quite expensive for most lower middle-class families. So, for a sports-loving kid like myself, the best way to learn about current NBA, NFL, and MLB stories was, of course, Sports Illustrated Kids. Yes, there's a very popular ESPN sports channel, but that was only good for the highlights and top 10 plays. For your average child under 13, the talk show portions of the channel were just simply boring. The SI Kids magazines, on the other hand, were interesting, funny, and quite frankly genius in the way they marketed to kids. Every copy came with a cool poster inside and a small set of tear-out trading cards, and believe me when I say my room was covered in them. Besides the small gifts every magazine came with, my favorite column to read was the one that featured middle school and high school athletes that are successful across the country. In 2009, I personally came across a small article in one of those columns about Bryce Harper. Then, less than 1 month later, I would see the notorious Baseball's Chosen One, Sports Illustrated, laying on my grandma's TV table. This, of course, came out weeks prior, but my family wasn't subscribed to what I called Adults Sports Illustrated, so this was my first time reading it. 12-year-old me would proceed to read the article no less than 5 times and beg my grandma to take it home. At that point, my preteen self had found my celebrity role model. I wanted to be like Bryce. So much so that I would intentionally change my batting stance for 4 years just to mimic him. My personal story aside, this article was the true start of Bryce Mania. Harper was no longer just a household name among scouts. He was now the name in high school baseball, which of course brought outlandish expectations with it. But before we get to that, let's backtrack a bit. Bryce was not always known as a national talent. Well, at least not before he turned 9, that is. As a toddler, his father, Ron, would throw bottle caps and sunflower seeds at him to hit, developing elite hand-eye coordination at a young age. Then by age 3, he was playing t-ball in a 6-year-old's league with his older brother. Over the next couple years, his family would recognize his love for the game as he'd frequently pester his dad to pitch to him multiple times per day and would sleep with his bat every night. By the time he hit age 9, travel teams across the country would be calling the Harper family non-stop, offering to pay for flights, food, and housing just to have him on their team for different tournaments. It happened so often that there are times Bryce would travel alone due to his parents' work schedule. Where this would be an absolute red flag for most families, this was just another day in the life for the Harpers. And clearly, Bryce loved it, as he would come back home and immediately demand Ron take him to the cages that same night. Despite the obvious interest travel ball clubs had with Bryce, this all wasn't too out of the ordinary for the family, as Bryce's older brother Brian was fairly good as well. Brian would go on to be drafted 3 times, once out of high school by the Nationals, then by the Cubs in 2010, and finally again by the Nationals in 2011. It wouldn't be until age 12 that his mother Sherry would finally realize how special her son really was. After one of his player-for-hire tournaments, Bryce would call home and tell his mom he played all right and didn't go too far into detail. Later that night, one of the coaches would call Sherry to share his amazement in Bryce's performance. In 12 at-bats, he scorched a double and 11 home runs. Sherry would admit, "That is what I knew," referring to how special of a player her son was. Going forward, the Harper family would continue to place Bryce in tournaments and leagues against competition 2 to 3 years older as it helped challenge and develop him as a player. That same year, Perfect Game would get their first look at the now 6-foot, 180-pound 6th grader at a pre-high showcase designed for prospects 3 grades older than him. Initially, Perfect Game staff were concerned about the age difference and were hesitant to even allow him to attend. But as per usual, Bryce would dominate the older competition, launching 2 in-game home runs and sitting in the upper 70s on the mound. This event would solidify his #1 ranking in the 2011 class, as well as earn him the top prospect of the whole showcase despite the major age gap. When asked about his view on playing against older competition, Harper responded, "I love playing against the older guys because I love showing them up." Over the course of the next 2 years, Bryce would stay on schedule, playing anywhere from 80 to 130 games per year, drawing both admiration and criticism. The admirers praised his work ethic and love for the game, where the critics claimed the immense schedule and non-stop travel were ruining his childhood, claiming that Ron and Sherry were irresponsible parents and should be frowned upon. This became such an issue that a news reporter even interviewed his parents, looking for any negatives to publish, but refused to quote them in the story as they only had positive things to say. When Bryce himself was questioned about the subject, he would state, "No way, I would not take anything back at all. Everything about it was great. I got to go places, meet people, play baseball against older kids, and better competition. I had a great time. By his freshman year of high school, Harper had become the guy for scouts to watch. In his first season at Las Vegas High School, he posted a .590 average with 11 home runs and 67 RBIs in only 38 games. The freshman would continue his tear at the national level, joining the 16U USA team for the Pan Am AA Championships, where he would lead the team to a gold medal. He'd finish the tournament as a team leader in 8 different offensive categories. Bryce would also participate in the 2008 Area Code Games, a showcase event designed for the top-ranked juniors and seniors, leaving with all Area Code team honors. To put it simply, Bryce had achieved awards his freshman year that most nationally ranked seniors can only dream of achieving. Oh, and by the way, he hit a ball 570 feet that year. Whether you believe that exact distance or not, the thought of a 15-year-old hitting a ball in-game 500-plus feet is just hard to comprehend. Bryce's sophomore year would be the year that he truly immortalized himself as a prospect. Before the season even started, he was named as the first sophomore ever to be given preseason All-American honors by Baseball America. This honor, of course, would prove to be well-deserved, as he would finish his sophomore season with a .626 average, 14 home runs, 55 RBIs, and 36 stolen bases in only 39 games. These video game-like numbers would earn him the High School Baseball Player of the Year award, resulting in him being the only underclassman to ever hold that title. That same year, he'd lead the 18U Team USA to another World Cup with a team best at 12 RBIs. The 2009 Showcase circuit was another victim to Harper's rampage, as he'd attend both the Aflac All-American Game and Power Showcase Home Run Derby. At the Power Showcase, one day prior to the Home Run Derby, Babe Ruth's granddaughter would display a commemorative bat that would be gifted to the player who hit the furthest home run. Harper would approach her that same night and tell her, "I'm gonna win that bat." The following day, he would make good on his word by launching a 502-foot shot into the catwalk, which at the time was the longest home run ever hit at Tropicana Field. For the Aflac All-American Game, we need to take a look at the timeline real quick. The Chosen One Sports Illustrated would come out in June of this year, 2 months before this event. Without going too much into it, the magazine cover would change everything for Bryce. He was no longer a national-level talent known by just the prep baseball world. He was now a national celebrity. Those who didn't necessarily understand the full ins and outs of baseball would be judging him every game, every at-bat, every pitch, and of course, with every moment of emotion. The now 16-year-old prodigy was a generational talent and should be superstar in the MLB soon. At least that's the way many viewed him, despite never actually seeing him play live. At this time, Bryce Harper had the highest expectations ever placed on a youth baseball prospect in history. This, of course, would complicate things further during his year of JUCO ball, but we'll get to that later. Now, for the Aflac All-American Game. Heading into fall, Bryce was offered a spot at this event, which many view as the most prestigious showcase for prep players every year. Only the best players in the nation are invited, and the game is broadcasted on national TV for the world to see. The only problem was Bryce was already committed to attend another event at Fenway that same day. With his prior commitment already established, he essentially decided to skip the All-American Game. This, of course, would affect viewership for the event, as he was expected to be the star of the show. But a longtime friend and teammate would ultimately flip his decision. You see, the Aflac All-American Game isn't just a highly prestigious youth baseball event. It is also a massive fundraiser, as all proceeds are donated towards pediatric cancer research and treatment. 1 year prior to this event, Bryce's longtime teammate Eric Cruz was diagnosed with lymphoblastic leukemia, essentially ending any future baseball dreams for the time being. After speaking with Eric and his family, Bryce knew that he had to make the right decision and attend the All-American Game, because simply him just being there would substantially boost attendance and viewership, resulting in more donations and awareness for Eric's cause. Bryce himself had nothing to gain by attending, as he was already projected to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2011 draft. It is important to keep this in mind, as he'd actually struggle and go over 5 with 3 strikeouts at the event. But despite all of this, Harper would remain on the field after the game, signing autographs until the officials forced everyone out, because this game wasn't about him. This game was for a bigger cause than baseball itself. And the so-called cocky and arrogant 16-year-old knew this. Following the All-American Game, the Harper family had a very big decision to make. Would they keep Bryce at Las Vegas High School, where his competition didn't challenge him and would actively avoid pitching to him in general, while also risking a potential injury over the next 2 seasons? Or would they allow him to take an alternative route, which would make him draft eligible in 2010, a year earlier than previously thought? They would end up choosing the latter, having Bryce get his GED and enrolling him in JUCO for the 2009-2010 academic year. The school of choice would be the College of Southern Nevada, which would be fairly close to his Las Vegas home. His older brother Brian would also transfer to CSN, partially to mentor his brother, but mostly due to a family financial situation stemming from their father Ron's inability to work. This transfer would of course be highly criticized, as that outsiders would claim Brian was transferring just to ride the coattails of his soon-to-be drafted younger brother. This criticism, however, would pale in comparison to the backlash Bryce would face for leaving high school early. Initially, the criticism remained online, in forums and short articles claiming the move was stupid, with some even wishing that he would get injured. But by the start of his first JUCO season, that had all changed. The online hecklers were now in person at every single game, shouting at him from the bleachers and even opposing dugouts, all wishing him failure. But once again, despite the unreal expectations and constant chirping, Bryce would perform unbelievably. In 66 games, he'd post a .443 average, .987 slugging percentage, and 31 home runs, shattering the previous record of 12 and leading all of JUCO in that category. That year, he'd receive the prestigious Golden Spikes Award, which is annually given to the best college baseball player in the country. To this day, he is the youngest athlete to ever win that title and is only the second JUCO player ever to do so. And of course, in 2010, the Nationals would draft Bryce Harper the first overall pick. Whether you think Bryce has lived up to the hype or not is up to you. But when it comes to his validity as the best prospect we've ever seen, I think it goes without question that he holds that title. No 15-year-old has ever matched his freshman year total accomplishments, same for his sophomore year. And of course, we have yet to see another 17-year-old produce a Golden Spikes Award-winning season while playing at a junior college. Personally, I'd like to add that I don't think we'll ever see another prospect like Bryce Harper. With the advancements in youth baseball training we've seen over the past 10+ years, your average 12-year-old travel ball player is much more advanced than he would have been in 2006. The skill gap is shrinking and kids in general are developing faster. The days of a 12-year-old playing 3 years up and dominating are pretty much over. And that's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this short documentary style video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for weekly uploads. We are so close to our goal of 3K subs and any help is greatly appreciated. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.